My GF son falsely accused me of now she can't get it through her head I don't want nothing to do with her. Basically we had been together over a year and a half and we were going great. She 29 female has a son 7 male from a previous relationship who I've not only met but was fond of. I 36 male wouldn't say stepdad material by any means, but we had a little friendship going. The dad's in and out of prison in the kid's life, so I'm the only guy like that he's had in his life that fulfills any real decent male role model figure. Me and her were even talking about living together too. A few weeks ago I get a visit from the police and they arrest me for sex assaulting her son. I'd been bailed on condition I wouldn't go near them, and as a result I'd been placed on gardening leave at work. Last week I got a letter saying the case had been dropped and I don't any longer have to attend my next bail hearing. That was it. I rang the policeman in charge of the investigation, and at the time he said he couldn't comment too much as there was still an active investigation, but basically her son confessed he had made it up and I'm innocent. To say I was mad, shocked, confused was an understatement. Basically a couple of days later I'd had one drink too much and rang her to confront her. She answered all apologetic and explained that this little fricking nephew of hers, 12 male, I've always hated this kid when I've met him. He's so disrespectful and always getting into trouble at school and into fights etc. Did it to her son at this party. They went to a few days before I was arrested, and when her son confessed someone had touched him, he panicked and said it was me instead of his cousin. I guess him being questioned by the police scared him, so he had told the truth. I was so disgusted and just hung up on her, deleted my social media too so I don't have to have anything to do with them. She's been ringing me since, texting me, emailing me, and is collectively saying even though she's so sorry that she put me through all this, she can't be too sorry as I wanted to protect her son, but she really wants us to get back to where we were again, and her son misses me too, and has been crying saying he's hurt me. She said this can make us stronger and we can have a good future. I've not answered at all, I've got nothing to say. I'm thinking of ghosting her. I can't lie and say I don't have love for her or her son, but if I'm honest I'm way too hurt. I'd always know she once thought I did something so unspeakable to her son, and I'll also never be able to forget that his lies no matter the reason could have wrecked my life. And I'd never want the risk of running into her nephew again. I never ever want anything to do with him again. Update. Hi all, I'm in England. So basically, I was recently arrested for being accused of sexually assault of my GF's son. Subsequently, all charges against me have been dropped when I received a letter from the police confirming charges have been dropped, and I don't have to go back for any bail hearings, as I have discovered unofficially since. Her son admitted it was another family member who assaulted him. At the start when I was first arrested I was put on gardening leave at work. I've been there just over 5 years. Once I received the letter, I gave it to my employer and my boss has scheduled a meeting for this Monday with him, regional managers and HR to determine if I still have a job. Basically, their argument is that even though I am no longer facing any charges, my accusation leave had leaked out online, and they say that it may hurt their reputation having me as an employee and I no longer have the support of my colleagues which they need to consider if it's going to affect the business long term. As it is, several colleagues have removed me from social media. In recent days I've come off anyway, but this was before, and have been ghosting me socially. Do I have any recourse? I really don't want to lose my job, my money's really good, and I have a lot of perks, company car, phone allowance, etc. And not only that, I've worked really hard to get where I am. If I lose my job, there's a really good chance eventually I wouldn't be able to afford my mortgage and I'd have to sell my house. If I do lose my job, I have no idea what sort of reference I'd get and would hate to have to start again from scratch elsewhere or in a job in minimum wage. Update 2. I want to thank you all for your advice, well wishes and criticism. Firstly, I met up with my GF. She rang me and I answered and asked if we could meet Sunday night. Normally I'd not answer, but because she had it from a withheld number and I was pissed, I said yeah, alright. When she came around I was all set to be guns blazing and tell her to frick off. But when I saw her I felt all emotional and broke down. She did too. We hugged really well and she kept on saying how awful I looked and how much weight I'd lost. She apologized and kept apologizing profusely. She said she had to report me on the basis that her son looked so in distress and she couldn't not report it as a mother. But she said she in hindsight knew I wouldn't be capable of what he said I did, and she hasn't been sleeping or thinking straight of what I could be going through. Apparently once her son admitted to the police it wasn't me and it was his cousin. The police got a confession out of her nephew, and he said he was SA himself, so he was only doing what happened to him. I couldn't try and be all nice and understanding, and I said I couldn't give a frick. She seemed quite stunned by this, but as she could see I was really distressed, she didn't argue the point. Basically she said she wanted to know where we go from here, and that she loved me so much and that she wanted to know if I could move on from it. She also had a letter from her son. Basically he's been really poorly, and he was so upset about what he said I did and asked if I'd read it. I don't know what happened at this point, but I got really angry. I said I couldn't read his letter. She got all pissed and said that he's only a kid, and he's been struggling so much. Did our little relationship mean so little to me? I felt so freaking blindsided, and said that it wasn't my fault he accused me of being a pedo. After a lot of arguing, Raised voices and hurt feelings. I said I'd take the letter but couldn't promise I'd want to reply. I mean, his accusation is going to likely ruin my career. She said she was done at this point but stressed how much she loved me and asked if I could ever forgive them. I said I couldn't promise. She also felt awful that I was likely losing my job the next day. We hugged it out, kissed and left it there. On the subject of my work, it's bittersweet. I arrived there for my meeting and briefly seeing my colleagues, they were treating me like poop. One woman who's been like my work mom and mentor was looking down her nose instantly. I tried to talk to her and she just walked off mid-conversation. Several others were all looking at me as if I'm the worst human being ever. When I got into the meeting, it looked as if I was just going to be sacked, and that was it. But I'm a pretty good negotiator, and I managed to beat them back to being not to blame at all. Basically, we argue a deal where I resign, but they agree to give me a great reference. They also pay me in full for September, October, and give me a 1,000 car bonus so I can buy myself a car. I'm due to go in and formally accept this Thursday. It's horrible because I've had to resign after 5 years of hard work and training, and cut ties with a place where I really gave it my all and I felt like I had a future. All because I've done nothing wrong. Update 3. So in response to my last post, I basically decided I wasn't going to take it lying down and accept their proposal. I messaged my MD ahead of time and told him I thought he should be there in the meeting. Me and him always got on well. Long story short, I told him I was taking legal advice and was looking at my local employment law specialist, and he claimed the regional bosses in HR kept him in the dark. Funny that, isn't it? And he said he was going to be in the meeting. When we got there, he was extremely apologetic and said he was going to deal with them personally. They all looked really sheepish. Basically, we worked out a deal. As a settlement, a full 5 months salary on top of my current month, 3,000 car settlement, and my usual 5% bonus of my salary. And they'll write me a glowing personal reference. Honestly, I was going to look into prosecuting them, but I just want it to be over, so I accepted. Hopefully I can move on professionally. On the subject of my now ex, I decided to read the little boy's letter. It was more of S note, but it basically said, "Dear Up, I'm sorry, I love you, you're my best friend," or something like that. If I was a cold person, I'd not feel bad. I'm not at all, and I hadn't drunk for a couple of days, so I sent him a note in the post too. Basically, I said in it I was sorry for what happened to him, and I hope he could forgive himself in time. And also I hoped life would be kind to him. I also rang my now ex and said I wanted a clean break and I was ending it. She was really crying and said she was sorry. I said I forgave her and acknowledged she did what she had to do. She said she truly loved me and would have carried on with me if I wanted to. I ended it there. My cousin, who I looked at staying with, is on holiday, so I have booked 3 weeks holiday in Inverness from Monday, and I'm going camping. Hopefully I can make a clean break. TLDR, me and my ex cleared things up and I ended it. I wrote to her son. Also, I got a better settlement out of my work. Final update. Okay, I realize that the above didn't get that many commenters, but my original posts, feel free to check out my profile for context I made. Still get so many people messaging me asking what's happened. I thought I'd post an update here. I was going to just block her and go away, but a commenter on my last post said she may misconstrue that my taking time away meant only a temporary break from her, and I was leaving the door open to reconcile, which I didn't want to do. Despite all what went on, I still care for her and didn't want her to suffer. I went around her house to tell her in person. I basically said I needed to end it and cut all contact indefinitely because of all that's gone on, and that I could forgive them but never forget what they did. She apologized again and said she still loves me, and did I love them? I said no, and she went hysterical, so I left. I blocked her on everything, deleted my social media, and went on my holiday to Scotland. I was only supposed to be there for 3 weeks, but I stayed nearly 4 and only got back yesterday. My friend who knows us spoke to me today and said my ex has been poop talking about me, saying on her Facebook especially that I've abandoned her and her son, etc. I don't care. I'm looking to move anyway and start afresh, so I don't care at this stage.